Welcome to Super Doc Stories, the place where physicians stop playing small and start building the life, brand, and impact they were born to create. I'm Dr. Marissa Caudill, physician, CEO, and co-founder of Super Doc Tech. And if you're listening right now, something in you already knows you are meant for more than a packed clinic schedule, a shrinking sense of autonomy, or a career defined by someone else's metrics. Here at Super Doc Tech Stories, we shine a light on bold, brilliant doctors who are stepping outside the traditional box of clinical medicine. The ones using technology, AI, and automations not just to run a cash pay practice, but to build movements, reshape their identities, and reach more people than medicine ever allowed them to before. Because in this new golden age of medicine, your expertise is currency. Your voice is public health intervention. And your story, it's the spark someone else has been waiting for. On this show, Mona and I share how we and dozens of super docs just like you have used the right tools, the right strategy, and the right support to turn overwhelm into clarity, confusion into confidence, and ideas into income. We talk about the emotional cycle of change, the valley of despair, yes, you will go through it, and how the right community and technology can rocket boost you straight into that phase of informed optimism and fulfillment. So if you're a physician building a cash pay practice, if you're dreaming of coaching, consulting, speaking, or creating, if you're ready to stop exchanging time for dollars and start scaling your wisdom, you are in the right place, and we want to hear your story. If you've got something powerful in the works, apply to be featured on this show by going to superdoctech.com/podcast-booking. We want to celebrate you, amplify you, and help you shine brighter than ever. All right, SuperDoc, let's dive in. Your next chapter starts now. Welcome back to SuperDoc Stories. I'm Dr. Marissa Caudill, and today our guest is Dr. Kat Hudon. She is the owner and founder of Pinnacle Wellness in Washington State. And tell us more about that, Kat.
Yeah, so Pinnacle Wellness is my labor of love over the last few years. I started this back in 2023 really as a way to help my husband, who's a family medicine physician, get out of the soul-crushing pain of what it is to be an employed physician in family medicine or any kind of primary care these days. Mm-hmm. And so really, I wasn't going to have much of anything to do with it. And it's funny how you learn new things in the business world that you really aren't taught in medical education.
For sure.
You get to follow this path of what a product can become. And so this clinic shifted from it was just going to be, a simple men's health clinic, and it became something so much grander, which is this age management, longevity medicine clinic, sort of modeled after things like what Peter Attia is doing and other folks that are out there that are really strongly based in data and science, but are totally rejecting the restraints that come with practicing within the traditional medical model, meaning insurance dictated care.
Yes, you're speaking my language. Mona and I don't know how much you know of our story and why we founded Super Doc Tech, but basically I'm a child psychiatrist and I was working at Kaiser Permanente until May of 2022. Mental health is not quite as bad as primary care in terms of how many patients per hour we were expected to see, but still, given that as a psychiatrist, I was hearing all of these kids and adults' whole lifetime trauma stories and everything else. When I left after 4 years and 4 months with over 1,800 patients who were assigned to me as their doctor, I too was a bit burned out. And I know the primary care physicians within that system were also really stretched thin. And I think it's just delusional to think that anyone can take really great care in an ongoing way over years and years of their patients when they're asked to do so much. So I think you and your husband did the right thing. But I'm curious, when you were going through that, when he was going through that transition, because it's emotional, right? There's also some guilt that you feel and shame and am I selling out? Am I not going to be serving as many people? How did you guys navigate that? What conversations do you remember having around that?
It's really challenging because, I talk to colleagues who still make little comments here and there on, must be nice, you only have the people who can afford to see you. And I think when you really dissect the costs, yes, there are costs that are associated with any kind of direct care model. But you compare that to what you're paying out of pocket and in your premiums with insurance, and actually it tends to save a lot of people money. So it's no doubt it's a challenge. And when we were first starting out, I think one of the more important things that we focused on was who do we want to be and what do we want to be? And so evaluating areas of moral hazard that we would want to avoid. So for example, I know there's a lot of places that use medication as a revenue stream, and we knew that was not something that we were going to do. And so people, if we're talking about GLP-1 therapies, would always be shocked about how inexpensive GLP-1 therapies were with us. And that's because we don't use prescriptions as revenue sources, because there's just too much moral hazard in that. The other idea that we kept is we want to be someplace where people feel like they have a true medical home, where they are well cared for and known. And also we want to be a place where physicians, nurse practitioners, nurses, everyone in healthcare can have a place to land. Because I think that we can both recognize that the way things are going, it is not sustainable for anyone. And, I'm in medical education also, and I battle with myself about, is this even ethical to train people to go into a system that is killing them? And so really what has helped me refocus and kind of plot our North Star is knowing that we're going to provide the best kind of care that we can to as many people as we can, recognizing that we are human and we have to acknowledge that humans have limitations, and the system cannot acknowledge our humanity. They demand so much perfection, showing up, gaslighting us into martyrdom by the real heroes don't wear capes and all of this nonsense. So we want to be a good home for everyone. And that, I think, is something that is acceptable to the majority of people who criticize direct care.
I totally agree. And I think it's a lot of envy, right? I mean, it's hard, though. I understand also where the criticism comes from, because when you're in that system, it's really hard to feel like it's okay to change it up. So what is something you're doing now at Pinnacle that you feel is really outside the box, something that your employed colleagues could never imagine doing?
So I think it's really cool how we have just naturally had people find us who are very like-minded. And for example, if I have a patient who is going through weight management, I have a nurse who loves to do health coaching, and she will spend so much time with them. And I mean, I'm talking about an hour every week, supporting their fitness goals, supporting their nutrition, helping them with sleep. And she lets me know all of these things that are going on and is able to suggest, hey, I think we need to maybe look at this. And I have people who are so successful because they have a true wraparound experience, not just a, what we have time for in primary care, right? What, 7 minutes, which is here, take this medicine. Best of luck. We'll see you in a year. And nobody wants to practice that way. Nobody wants to be a patient that way. And so the way that you can actually provide good care in a truly affordable model, I think is something that people don't recognize until they actually start dipping a toe into it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. It sounds like you also have found a way to let your team members gravitate towards their natural strengths, which brings more value to the patients you serve and the physicians in your practice too, which is great.
Absolutely. I think if you look at the literature on burnout, top of the list is autonomy every single time. And so I have with my OBGYN, she loves perimenopause, menopause, women's sexual health, and is just getting killed at her practice as a full spectrum OBGYN. And so she got certified by the Menopause Society and is able to do exactly what she wants. This is something that's missing in any kind of physician-owned care is I trust you, your training, your expertise, your drive to be able to care for patients in the way that you feel is best. And I feel the same way about the rest of my team. And so I can't remember who said it, but someone said, hire slow and fire fast. And so we've had very slow hiring practices because we want to make sure, is this the best place for you as a practitioner in healthcare? And are you the best fit for who we are as a clinic?
I love that. And how are you guys? Obviously, you've been growing really fast. You told me you just started this in 2023. You're already looking to expand to multiple states. Congratulations. That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
How have you been growing? Like, are you going on podcasts? Do you have socials? Are you speaking, writing? What has your process been?
Sort of all of the above. Really where I've leaned a lot on is a marketing company that we have serendipitously crossed paths. And I feel like they are as invested in our success as I am. And so it's been a really lovely partnership to be able to work with them. They're called Orca Creative and they're based here in Washington State,
Nice.
but the team is all over the place. And so that has been really big in, you want to build a beautiful website. You want to build a consistent social media presence where people can get a feel for who you are. And when I say it's a labor of love to build something like this, boy, yes, labor is the right term. And so I think there are a lot of other opportunities that are out there that I just have to acknowledge my own personal bandwidth. I've got 3 kids. I've got, I don't know, at this point, 4 jobs. So I have to acknowledge that there are some limitations to what I can do. So I think that that's part of the piece of success as well. So the marketing has been such a learning process for me, but I just think it's so fascinating. Everything in these new fields. I feel like, if you went to your primary care doctor with a headache and they were like, I'm going to send you to our neurologist, and you never even knew a neurologist existed, that is marketing world to me. And I just love learning new things. And so they have not only helped us grow, but helped me grow in my education.
That's amazing. So what do they do for you guys?
They've helped us with our website. They help me with my tech stack. They help me with my social media. They help me with different marketing campaigns across, whether that's Google or Meta, all of our voice, our assets. It's really cool. You get to have a conversation like you and I are having a conversation. And I have this brilliant copywriter. Her name is Beth. She distills everything down into this message where I'm like, yeah. And so coming up for New Year, she has new year, true you, which is so good. That's so much what we're about, is refinding who you are and being able to do the things that you want to do so that you can maintain your independence for decades to come.
So how are you currently nurturing your current customers? Are you using like a CRM tool, or when you said your tech stack, what are you using there?
Yeah, this has been so much pain because every little thing that I try, there's something that is broken or that doesn't work. And so where we are at right now is we're in, I'm going to forget the name. I can never remember the names of any of these systems, to be honest with you. So we started out with MailChimp just as basic things. And then we went to ActiveCampaign, which is very clunky. And now we're at, I can't remember these names. I just always escape me. It will come to me.
And is that something that you do yourself, or does the marketing team handle it?
Marketing team is handling it, which is so good. Because as much as I can get off of my plate, the better. When you're bootstrapping a business, it's really tempting to keep on doing everything yourself. But it would be like if I owned a restaurant and my kitchen staff quit and I'm like, I can step in and do this. I can do prep. I can do line work. I can do all of these things. And you compare that to someone who acts like a CEO and then starts hiring the experts for their field. You're going to do so much better if you recognize, so you can act like this person who will step in and do everything, because we are independent, driven, type A people, right? I can get her done sort of eldest daughter syndrome. And so you can step in and you can do all of these jobs in a really good way. Or you can step in and you can act like the CEO and trust these other experts in their field to be able to do their job. And with that, you're empowering other people around you, but you're also releasing your brain space, releasing your time, which is your most important commodity, to be able to focus on other things.
Yeah, I definitely think that can be true. So at SuperDoc Tech, we kind of did it the non-CEO way, Mona and I both at the beginning. And that's why we started SuperDoc Tech, because we were doing it ourselves, putting all these pieces together, thinking, well, like you said, I'm an eldest daughter. She's an only child. So we have that same syndrome. We're like, I can do everything. And what we realized is like, I agree with you, but I think there also is a lot of value in being very involved in the process, because we also know a lot of physicians who just hire a marketing company and think, okay, I'm checking that off my to-do list. But it sounds like you have a good marketing company where they actually touch base with you regularly and understand you and really want to make sure that they're getting your voice, your messaging, your brand out there so that it's not generic, it's you. And there are many marketing companies that don't do that. I don't know. They're also very expensive. Like we talked to many people who are paying like $3,000 to $5,000 a month for marketing, for SEO, for social media management, and not really seeing much return on that. So one of the things we're really passionate about at SuperDocTech is helping people. We have like a tech stack that's all in one. So when you were talking about MailChimp and ActiveCampaign, our platform is so much better than all of those. And you can really have a lot of wonderful ways to interact and get your leads to be coming in through different funnels. Like you were discussing, having the thought to have more longevity coaching, which you can sell and market across all 50 states because it's not technically the practice of medicine, right? It's education. And to be able to do that in one platform and nurture all those leads and track all the ad campaigns and all that is something you can do at SuperDocTech, which is great. Of course, a marketing company may be using the same software behind the scenes that we're using. Who knows what your team is using? But it sounds like you're in good hands. So congratulations on finding a group that really gets it for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really special for sure.
So if there's a physician listening right now, and if that person is feeling maybe like your husband did feel like 3 years ago, like stuck, burnt out, trapped in the trading time for money cycle, what would you tell him or her?
I would tell them that your skills far exceed what you think they do. And I think one of our greatest barriers that has been indoctrinated in us throughout training is perfectionism. So if we can obliterate that wall of thinking, okay, everything has to be perfect right off the bat, and I have to get all of my ducks in a row, and I have to have all of my lead gen and all of my funnels built out just so before I can even open a website. That's crazy. You have to accept that you are going to fall flat on your face. You are going to learn some hard lessons, maybe some expensive lessons, but they're going to be very important in molding whatever it is that you want to build. Your skill set includes critical thinking. Your skill set includes being calm under pressure. We've all intubated somebody at some point and taken over their basic functions of life. If you don't think that you can build a business or a unique way of approaching the practice of medicine, stop it. You can. You just don't have to be perfect with this. And it's just a lovely way to learn about other people, learn about other fields, and then learn about yourself too.
I 100% agree. And we were talking before we started recording here about the arrival fallacy and how as physicians, you work so hard. And then I know, and you probably too, many people who get to that endpoint where you're finally like the attending, the specialist, whatever. And then there's this huge letdown of like, well, now what? Or why did I do this? Like, why did I keep the blinders on for so long? Is this really what I wanted to do? For me, leaving the structure of an employed position and thinking about how I myself as a parent coach can be creative, use technology, have a greater impact for kids' health and parents' health. And now as a business owner, like thinking, how can I help physicians to be able to do that same thing? I'm probably working harder than I did when I was in my employed job, although I was exhausted then, but I'm less exhausted now because I'm also more engaged with my work. Do you feel the same? And does your husband too?
Absolutely. There's nothing like being totally purpose-driven and excited and experiencing the novelty. I mean, talk about little dopamine loops that you can pop yourself into just by all of these novel experiences that happen every single day. There's always a new problem to solve. There's always something new to think about. And, you know, we were talking earlier, one of my big passions is incorporating career design into and life design is high stress, long training pathways that we have. So in medical education, talking about how do you start focusing on other ways to practice medicine? How can you observe what's going well in your mentors and in your attendings and what's not going well and how you can fix that? So that is one of my big passion projects for sure, is on my more, I guess, personal Instagram, is going through well-being in medicine and in medical education.
And I think a huge part of that is staying flexible and realizing that regardless of how specialized you've become, how many degrees and board certifications you have, you still don't have to be pigeonholed, even with all of that, to doing just that one thing. You know, you were talking about your colleague who's an OBGYN who loves to do not all of OBGYN, but just like menopause and aging women care. And like, that's awesome. So I think we have to give ourselves permission to follow our hearts. Like every step that you've taken along this path, even if you don't use it every day, is something that's going to make you better at what you're passionate about. So absolutely. I really love hearing your story.
One of my good friends says that medicine is a foundation, not a cage. And I love that. And so she's actually a travel advisor. And she's Joy is not a crumb on Instagram. And I always say she's a cardiac anesthesiologist on the side. So medicine as a foundation, not a cage, I think is a great way for us to frame that.
I love that. Yeah. So my daughter, when I stopped practicing clinical medicine at Kaiser, she was 6. And so then, for a while I needed like some time off just to regroup and see what I wanted to do with my life. And she started saying like, well, you're not a doctor anymore, Mom. I was like, ouch, I'm still a doctor. Actually, I am.
Boy, they really know how to cut right to the heart of you, don't they?
Especially the daughters, yes. But now it's interesting because now that I've founded Super Doc Tech and we have, customers and she sees me on all these calls, she's like, oh, you have a business. This is cool. It's so cute to see. Like, I think we also have to keep in mind that if you have children, they see your engagement with life and you can't fake it. Like you might think you're faking it, but you're not. Like if you are not loving what you're doing, they see that you're suffering. And that's the model of like how one should be that we're giving our kids. Yeah, you don't do it for yourself. You got to do it for them.
The kids are so proud of me, which blows my mind. They'll talk at school or wherever else about how my mom built a whole business called Pinnacle. Yeah. And they are so thrilled. And they're little, right? They're 9, 7, and 3 are their ages. And I never would have thought that they even noticed what was going on.
No, but they do. They notice everything. And it's so good for them. I think as parents, especially that cage you're talking about, part of it is the duty and responsibility that we feel to financially provide for our families, right? And it feels really scary and risky to go out and do something new, and we fear failure. But if you don't take the risk and the chance, you'll never know what's possible. And I just think, once you take that leap, you can always go back. I think that's what helped me. It's like I can always go back and have a clinical job. Like there's so many places hiring doctors. Like it's not going to be hard to get a job. You can always go back to that way. It can only be better than that. So I love the inspirational story that you guys have. I also know it hasn't been easy, I'm sure. I'm sure there've been lots of like things you've learned the hard way. And like you said, expensive mistakes, all of those things. But I love the fact that you guys took the leap and did it. Was it 100%? Was your husband behind it the whole time?
Yeah, very excited for it. And he loves routine. And so he was very happy to keep churning the 9 to 5, or let's be honest, the 6 to 6.
Yeah.
And let me work on building it and then to step in, kind of become my employee, which he's perfectly happy for. And I won't hire HR. I'll keep that separate.
All right. Well, I love it. I love talking to you, Kat. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting. We will put the details for Pinnacle in our show notes so people can find you. And tell us a little bit more about what services you're offering, what states you're offering them in, and what's coming next at Pinnacle.
Yeah, we are a age management and longevity medicine clinic, which is a little tricky space to be because there's a lot of charlatans and grifters out there. And so to really establish us as a different group who follows most cutting edge data, the most cutting edge technology, and really goes through things with a fine tooth comb so that we can provide the best preventative care possible to keep people living independently into their 8th, 9th decades and beyond. We're in Washington State. We are able to see people in Idaho. We're getting started with Oregon and are going to be expanding to a few other states as well. We're at pinnacle-wellness.com. Our Instagram is at Spokane Pinnacle. And we just love to engage with people and share some new ideas and things that are coming out in the world of preventative medicine that is not constrained by all of the restrictions of insurance and traditional medicine, aka insurance dictated care.
All right, everyone, go check them out. Thank you so much again, Kat, for being our guest today.
Thanks for having me.